For nearly 2 centuries, Singapore Turf Club has brought joy to a nation through horse racing. Singapore Turf Club's story began in 1842, set up by merchant and amateur jockey William Henry McLeod Reed.
Cavalcade, Mrs. Isabel Dodge Sloan's brown 3-year-old into the home stretch.
When you think about businessmen such as William Reed, why would they want to set up a racing club in Singapore? This is partly because early Singapore was very much a trading settlement. There's really the thinking, how can we replicate aspects of our leisure and our social life from Britain and bring that to the colonies? Horse racing has a really long history. Stems from around the 1600s, where members of the aristocracy would be involved in horse racing because horse racing is expensive. So this is why generally it's only the elites that could afford to participate in this type of activity.
It was not just Singapore who had race courses. Across Asia, there were similar clubs set up in the 1800s. Many still exist to this day, like Hong Kong's Happy Valley Racecourse and Malaysia's Selangor Turf Club. They have even become tourist attractions. Singapore Turf Club is no different. But its first home was humble.
This is the best spot to show you the old race course. You see, from that building to that building. Originally, it was all swampland, full of tall trees and thick lalang. But within 4 months, it was turned into a race course.
This young Singaporean is documenting Singapore Turf Club's history before its closure. His journey begins where it began, Racecourse Road.
And the racetrack is like this whole...
Yes, it's circular.
So that road is Racecourse Road?
Yes, Racecourse Road marks the perimeter of the site.
It may look modest now, but back then, this was a prime location.
The story of the Turf Club is also the development of Singapore, because race courses quite often are developed close to the city because patrons and enthusiasts want to be able to get to the track to see the horses race.
So I actually didn't know that Singapore Turf Club had such a long history. This was a great opportunity for me to learn more from like-minded people who have passion for horse racing. So how long have you been a racing journalist?
Well, I've been involved in horse racing for 50 years.
Joining him on his journey is a fellow racing enthusiast.
That's very long.
I'm Tan Tien Loon, former racing editor of the Straits Times and the newspaper. People always ask me, how you could last so long in a single job. And my reply has always been the same. It's like I'm being paid to go to a party.
The first race was held on 23rd February 1843.
The first race was actually held to mark the 24th anniversary of Singapore's founding by Sir Stamford Raffles.
It was attended by 300 of its members.
For many of the Europeans who were arriving in early Singapore, you could afford life's luxuries, and this might include horses. And to have the money and the time to do this was something perhaps you couldn't do back at home, but there's a little more social mobility, particularly in the colonies. So it's very much about creating a sense of community, fostering sports, and giving a focal point for the community.
The concept of horse racing has not changed since 700 BC. The fastest horse along a straight or oval track wins. These days, horse races occur once a week. Back then, they were only held twice a year.
So you can imagine in the early 1800s, entertainment wasn't that well developed because this is really a settlement. The focus is on trade more than anything else.
On non-race days, the club ground served other purposes.
This field was used for animals to graze. Singapore's first manned flight took off from here, March 1911. This is a type of plane called the Bristol Box Kite. The pilot is a Belgian called Joseph Christians, an engineer and a race car driver.
By the 1920s, Singapore was undergoing a period of economic and population growth.
Singapore is a major shipping hub for regional trade but also global trade. It had become a staple port. So this means essentially you have tin and rubber, in particular, as two main commodities that are coming largely from the Malay Peninsula through Singapore.
The economic boom may have been beneficial for the country, but this created a new problem.
The city continues to grow, but the course itself could not extend. So you begin to have members of the race club looking at other options.
Singapore Turf Club needed to find a new home. By 1927, Singapore Turf Club had to find a new home. It decided on a 240-acre rubber plantation in Bukit Timah.
So one of the considerations with this Bukit Timah piece of land was that it was in close proximity to the railway. So this was seen as advantageous because you could move supporters, audiences. You could also move horses, which would be quite important for the racecourse.
On April 15, 1933, the club reopened as the Bukit Timah Racecourse.
I'm Deborah Barker, the second daughter of Mr. E.W. Barker and Mrs. Gloria Barker. We loved the Bukit Turf Club because you looked out, you could imagine you were in England. If you turn your eyes in a different direction, you'd see the high-rise buildings of Singapore. It was very beautiful and it felt very homely.
The Bukit Timah Racecourse was 78% larger than Farrer Park Racecourse and was designed to house horses and staff.
Bukit Timah was small, but it was more concentrated. There was a grandstand and there was the racecourse, and in the distance you could see the stables.
I am Samia binti Hassan. I've been working with the club since February 1990. I am born and raised in Bukit Timah. My father and my brothers are working as sizers there. If you are not working there, you are not allowed to stay there. We stay in like so-called flat, 2, 3, and a 4-story flat. Every floor we have about maybe 8, 10, 15 units. We also have colonial bungalows for the top management. The place is like a concrete kampong, especially when there's weddings, prayers, and whatever celebrations we have. We will sit together, cook together, that kind of thing.
Club membership grew from the 1930s to the 60s, but rising public interest made it clear it was time to open the doors to all. And what better way to attract the public than by inviting one of the biggest names at the time?
Queen Elizabeth II visited Bukit Timah Racecourse in February 1972. It was, of course, a very significant milestone in Singapore's racing history. 26,000 people showed up to watch the big race.
And one person was there to witness it.
I came to know about the visit from my neighbors. I am 9 years old at that time. We see her from far, from my balcony, because it's very crowded and the security is very tight.
So you saw her from your flat?
Yes. I saw her from far because she's at the equine swimming pool. We just wave from far.
I guess the whole kampong was...
All excited, all very excited. 18 March 2006, the Queen came to the club for the second time. I happened to be on duty and I was at the reception desk. So she passed by our desk and that is how I get to see her very close.
Bukit Timah Racecourse also attracted long-time fans.
This is a portrait of my father that was presented to him by the Turf Club on his 70th birthday. He was Speaker of Parliament before being appointed as Minister for Law in 1964. So he retired in 1988. Then he became chairman of the Bukit Turf Club. My father liked horses. It was my mother who brought my father to the races for the very first time. And so it grew from there. My first visit to the Turf Club was then about 6 or 7 years of age, and my father brought us to see his horses, Joey San and Downing Street. I found it quite nerve-wracking. The horse is so huge. It was really a party with friends. Sometimes there would be dress-up days and women wearing hats. So there was a lot of colour where you were watching the races, but on top of all that was the excitement of the crowds out there. There were large numbers of people just standing at the barriers and cheering, and that was pretty exciting.
I would go to races with my wife, at that time with my girlfriend. If I go alone, she may suspect that I might go somewhere else. During race days, wife step aside first. My name is Francisco. I'm a retiree. I started going to the races in Bukit Timah way back in 1968. The first time when we went to the races, it was more out of curiosity as a young boy. Maybe in Hokkien term, get xiao lah, or ji xiao lah. Without fail, I've been here all the time. I will meet up with my friend, go down to Rex, and then we take a pirate taxi, they call it baong chia. At that time, you hardly got a place to walk, you can't get a place to sit. Come back, your seat gone. And you cannot say that seat is yours. You want to find trouble. No such thing, put tissue paper or put newspaper.
Over the years, STC participated in numerous races, but never won internationally. That changed in 1989 with a horse named Colonial Chief.
And beginning well was Grand Illusion from near the inside. Stingray began fast also.
In fact, he was Ivan Allen, more than anyone else who put Singapore on the world racing map. He was with his very own horse, Colonial Chief. That was the Hong Kong Invitation Cup. It was quite a suspenseful moment, yes.
Top Grade went to the lead over Colonial Chief. Third was Stingray. Colonial Chief cruised riding for dear life. Colonial Chief has won it, a neck on the line from Top Grade.
When the number already came out to confirm that he was the winner, that was when I turned around and grabbed the mother. We won. Colonial Chief really made Singapore proud that day.
By the 1970s, Singapore Turf Club saw high attendance and international acclaim. Much of it was due to the club providing the audience a quality racing experience. Though times have changed, the attention to detail remains. It is largely contributed by the people behind the scenes, like this man.
John to Pep, load when ready. If you've never been to the races, it's very unique. Most of the people here have been following racing for years and years. It's in their blood. That's how I developed my love of racing from a very, very young age. So when people come here for the first time, I'd imagine that they're stepping into a different world. My name is John Davidson. I'm the Chief Racing Officer at the Singapore Turf Club. As Chief Racing Officer, departments currently under my control: stipendiary, the vets, the lab, broadcasting services, racing office, and we just control and organise and ensure racing is conducted fairly.
Horses race once a day, but preparation begins long before.
The work starts a lot earlier than that for the trainers. Like, they're preparing horses and they're training them to the minute to get them ready for that race. The handicaps are released Monday afternoon.
Handicaps are designed for horses to be competitive. They must be an equal weight, and this includes the jockey and racing equipment. Next, previous race placements are factored. Better performing horses are then given a handicap.
Once the handicaps are out, I will start to study. One horse length is equivalent to 0.2 seconds. So from there, you are able to calculate roughly what would be the finishing time of the horse.
Even the prize winning follows decorum.
The excitement is the prize giving. If a horse won, somebody would get the pleasure of leading the horse in to get his prize. And actually leading a horse in is a photo moment, and that would either be the owner, the owner's wife or daughter.
Horse racing has often been considered a male sport. This changed with Diane Crump in the 1970s, the sport's first ever competitive female jockey. 20 years later, it was Singapore's time to break gender barriers.
I'm giving the hay for the horses after work, so these are their sweets. It's a good treat for them, and there are many vitamins around the way. See how happy he is. I am Magdalene Tan. I am the first female apprentice jockey in Singapore. I've always liked challenges, and I thought this is going to be something I love, and this is what I love until now. My father, being an avid race goer, he came across the ad that says that Singapore Turf Club was looking for apprentice jockeys. He jokingly said, "Girl, go apply for it." And without him knowing or anyone know, I did my own written resume. The training was for 2 years, and we were given duties from the morning. We are awake by 5. Had to clean up the horses, picking up their dung, picking up the sawdust, showering them and grooming them until 9 p.m. After 2 years of training, I came out as apprentice jockey, being able to ride in professional races. My first ride was at Bukit Timah Turf Club in 1994. That first day with the crowd cheering on you, being the first female jockey, I think it did put a little pressure. I didn't win. There were some people who were jeering on me, but I had good people around me that were encouraging me. It took me 11 months after the first ride before I took my first win to victory. It was pouring cats and dogs. I was seated midfield from the leader. The ones that went in front were just slowing down due to the track condition. And that was when I knew, yeah, finally I'm gonna get it, and that's how I felt, that victory. That feeling, even describing to you, I'm still reliving my moment.
Despite the highs spanning across 6 decades, the club was hit with news that echoed 1927.
The Bukit Timah Racecourse held its last races today, ending 66 years of racing history there.
The club needed a new home, again.
Many patrons say they are looking forward to better facilities and night racing at the new Kranji Racecourse, due to start operations in August.
In 1994, work began on Singapore Turf Club's new home in Kranji.
We have spent a lot of effort, time to develop a world-class facility. Kranji was one of my most memorable projects and one of the most difficult.
Construction was tough, and things took an unexpected turn on opening day.
It was the first day we were racing at Kranji. I think it was about 7:30 p.m. when suddenly power outrage and everything was pitch dark.